Hello, everybody. Welcome back to All Villa, No Filler. I am here today because, hey, I'm bored and I got nothing else to do. So I'm just going to talk Aston Villa. Please like and subscribe. Triple underline the subscribe bit. If you don't subscribe, you support Birmingham City. There, I said it. So look, you got to do what you got to do. Just click that subscribe button, eh? Or you're down to St Andrews next season as a season ticket holder. And you sure as hell don't want to endure that. Anyway, look, what's been going on in the world of Aston Villa? Well, what has been going on? Christian Purslow has resigned. The CEO, the man who we have all got used to seeing on screen, in photos, on TV, talking in the media. Well, Mr. Purslow resigned on Monday. I talked about that with Sam Tighe. What a fantastic chat that was. What a great interview Sam Tighe is. Football journalist, Ranks FC podcaster, talked in depth about the signings Villa have made and the boardroom changes we're witnessing. And it was he had an interesting perspective, I would say, on a lot of players on Yuri Tielemans particularly, but also on players that we've been linked with like Nico Williams and Pau Torres. So please go check that out as well. But look, let's just have a quick chat on Christian Purslow. Two things I'd recommend you do. Go and read an article that was written by Tom Nightingale of Holtcast about Purslow. Great stuff. Tom Nightingale's been on this podcast before, top guy. And Greg Evans, as always, excellent article, excellent long read on Perslow's time at Aston Villa in The Athletic. And one line that caught my attention in Greg Evans's article was at the start where he said that Villa fought hard, or rather, Christian Purslow fought hard for Aston Villa in negotiations and spoke passionately in Premier League meetings. And I think if you were to say anything about Purslow and you were to give him credit, you would have to say that when he came into the club, Aston Villa were at the bottom of every bottom, as was it Nickelback would say? I think it was them who wrote that lyric. Anyway, they were in a chasm, and Tony Gier and his weird tweets, losing playoff finals, from the moment that Martin O'Neill walked out the door to Randy Lerner stopping investment and saying he couldn't be bothered anymore. Thanks, Randy. To players disgracing themselves, to the ignominy of the 2015-16 season, to Villa, this great club, being in the Championship and a team that had turned into a bit of an also-ran. Look, we lost the playoff final, and you kind of thought, what the hell are Villa going to do now? Are we going to go out of business? And genuinely, if Villa had, where would I be now? What would I be doing? I'd probably have, for the last 5 years, had a 1,000-yard stare, looking into the distance, muttering incoherently about where is my beloved club? Well, Nassef Sawiris and Wes Edens came in, took over Villa, and Christian Purslow came in as CEO. And you have got to say that from where Villa were when Purslow came in to where Villa are now in Europe, 5 years later, he can look at that and say, that's a job well done, I think. Now, it's not solely that Purslow that the reason Villa are where they are. Dean Smith, Jack Grealish, Unai Emery, the owners, the players. There's so many factors that go into it. But Purslow did play a big role in it. I think you could say there was some frustration sometimes with how he presented himself publicly. Maybe it looked a bit show-offy for some. It did to me at times. You know, I think back on the Coutinho signing, the announcement at the awards ceremony last season. There were occasions where it all came across a bit not great. But then also, you know, the opposite side of that is you've got owners who don't say anything in the likes of the Glazers. At least he was willing to engage with the Villa fan base. At least he was willing to, I guess, put himself out there. As Greg Evans said in his article, he fought passionately for Aston Villa. We have to be thankful of that, really. And you look at some other things that happened. I went to Bodymoor Heath a couple of times, about 20 years ago now. And let's just say that training ground was not state of the art. It was just not. Now, it's one of the top training grounds in the country, in world football. It's a fantastic facility. The Inner City Academy, the North Stand redevelopment, which would be fantastic if that goes ahead. We're still kind of waiting to hear what happens with the Whitton train station. Villa Live, my God, those bars being there before a game, having somewhere to hang out after a game near Villa Park. That would be brilliant. So I'm really hopeful that that happens. Something fell off my seat there. Don't know what it was. But yes. So a lot of that you have to praise Purslow for. I think there were some frustrations. You cannot escape that Steven Gerrard hire. Look, I think we all know that his past relationship with Gerrard, Purslow was heavily involved with it. It was his man, really. And it just kind of felt like things never recovered from the debacle of Gerrard's hire. In the ruthless world of business, if you make a bad decision, you pay a price usually. And you can't help but feel that since Gerrard left the club, Purslow's presence was not as preeminent, I would say. You can't help but think that, Sawiris stormed out of the Fulham game where we lost 3-0. Gerrard was sacked within an hour. Sawiris then led the negotiations to get Unai Emery. And again, the pictures of Emery turning up to the club were with Sawiris. So it kind of felt like Purslow took a back seat. And then on top of that, his role as a CEO, before the manager reported to him, now you've got Chris Heck has been hired, who's come in to supercharge kind of the marketing and revenue side of things for Aston Villa. So he takes care of that. And then, Unai Emery takes care of the football matters. And from what we gather, what's been reported, Purslow still wanted to be involved with those kind of negotiations for players. I would say that a lot of players signed during his tenure. I don't know whether it's solely down to Purslow that came in, but a lot of players that did come in, Matty Cash, Emi Martinez, Douglas Luiz, Ezri Concert, so many players you can reel off that have turned out to be great signings. And contracts re-signed as well. Douglas Luiz this season, great to have him re-signed. Emi Martinez re-signed, even Jack Grealish back when he was signed, and that 100 million was there. And Villa got 100 million for him. And also, Carney Chukwuemeka left for 20 million quid, didn't they? And again, Greg Evans reported that came about from Purslow talking to Todd Bowley at a dinner. I'd love to be hanging out of that, see what everyone's talking about these things. I'll be telling them that there's Marvelous Nakamba's worth 30 million to Todd Bowley. That's what I'll be saying. Marvelous Nakamba's going to get you back in the Champions League. Do you know what? No, make it 40 million, Todd. And do you know what? He'd probably bid 50 million. So let me loose on those dinner parties. But yeah, so look, you can't escape the Gerrard hire. You can't escape some of the poorer signings, I think, that were happened in more recent times. The Danny Ings signing, I like Ings as a player, but I never quite knew where he fitted in the team. It was a weird signing. Three managers couldn't work out what to do with him, and Unai Emery said, "Do you know what? Ollie Watkins is the main man." That's the way it should have been from the start. And so, yes, I wish Purslow well. I think Villa are in a much better shape now than when he joined. I mean, by God, could it have got any worse? But he deserves credit for helping Villa get back to where they were, and I think Villa just have now outgrown his role, and perhaps there wasn't a place for him now when there really was one 5 years ago. So yeah, some good, some bad, but mostly I think as Tom Nightingale said in his article, he can probably look back on his time at Villa and think that was a job well done. So good luck to him going forward. Now, also a couple of updates that have happened. Obviously, Monchi, that's been mentioned again. I talked about him at length with Ruri Barlow from Football España. Go check out that interview. It was reported by John Percy that Aston Villa have to pay £1.7 million to Sevilla as compensation to get him out of the club. But there is apparently, if Monchi is to leave Aston Villa, or to leave Aston Villa, to leave Sevilla, he would not be able to work for 3 months, which is not ideal because basically I'm sure that Unai Emery would want to work with him straight away. We shall see. Look, I'm not going to say that I think Monchi coming in is going to be like the greatest thing that's ever happened. But you can't argue with the fact that Unai Emery's worked with him before, 3 years at Sevilla, 3 Europa Leagues in a row. If he likes working with Monchi, well, who's to argue Unai Emery really at the end of the day. And I think, yes, there are reasons to be excited given what a stellar track record he has had at Sevilla over his sort of almost 20 years of working there. The Roma thing didn't work out there, but aside from that, look, if Unai Emery wants him, then fair enough. We'll see what happens. Let's not get carried away. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. The world moves on. And also today, it's been reported again that Brennan Johnson, 30 million quid from Brentford to Nottingham Forest. That is the bid that's gone in. Do I think Nottingham Forest are going to sell him for 30 million quid? No. He's a jewel in their crown. I think they'll want more than that, particularly given they signed Morgan Gibbs-White, who I think is a brilliant player, signed him for £45 million last season. So I think they'll want something over 40, is just my hunch. But Brennan Johnson's a player that I didn't quite get for a while. But then the more I watched him for Nottingham Forest, I thought he looked like a talisman. He was superb. What is he, 21, 22? 8 goals in 38 games. I feel like when I watched Forest, him and Gibbs-White were the two real talismanic players who dragged Forest forward, caused defences all kinds of problems. I really could see him in that Villa team. You know, as Santai said in our interview the other day, Villa don't massively have a lot of pace and penetration, and I think that's what Brennan Johnson would bring. You could see him maybe in that Bailey role in the right, or you could see him as an attacking mid, maybe sitting in the Emi Buendia role. It's just another option. Do I think Villa will spend more than 40 million for him? I don't know. I don't know what Villa are going to do this summer. I have a hunch they will spend big on someone, but I also think a lot of deals will maybe be in the more Alex Moreno role of like 40 million quid, maybe unheralded. But Unai Emery sees this man, knows what he can do, and wants to coach him and get him in. And so Brennan Johnson, not going to be easy to get him out of Forest. Brentford won him. That's probably a good sign because they tend to sign well, Brentford. But were Aston Villa to go for him, I'd be quite excited by that, I think. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, please like and subscribe. I've got another piece coming out with Paul Webb of the London Lions. A little fun feature we're doing together. So that'll be out in the next day or two. But look, up the mighty Villa. Please like and subscribe or else you support Birmingham City, like I said. But thank you for watching. I love this podcast. I love Aston Villa. Up the mighty Villa.